Hello, welcome to Harrow Park Model Railway. Today I'm showing you a conversion that I did from Ringfield Tender Drive to locomotive drive with the X04 motor. What had happened, the Ringfield motor had broken and I was unable to fix it. Here's the tender with where the Ringfield motor used to be. And I found a replacement Ringfield motor, but it was a later model and it didn't fit in the metal frame here from the 1973 version. So I was at a loss of what to do, so I just I thought, well, I'll just keep it as a non-runner. I took the motor out of it, left the metal frame in there because it adds a bit of weight to the tender, and just put it behind glass for 2 years and just basically forgot about it. And then recently I thought, well, what if I was to put a motor in the locomotive itself and not try to replace the Ringfield motor in the tender? I had a lot. Here's the locomotive part. I had a lot of problem with trying to get a brass cog off a spindle from my spares box, and it was quite a hard job. And then I thought, well, what if I used a nylon cog? I could get that onto a spindle easy. So I took one side of the wild shirts gear and the connecting rods, took them off one side, and then I put a punch on the spindle here, and then with a 100-gram hammer I knocked the spindle halfway out, so there was just enough space that this slot here, it would be a slot if the cog was not there, that this slot here was free enough to get the nylon cog into there and then knock the spindle back through again, which is what I did. So unable to be successful with a brass cog, I used a nylon one. The next problem was the X04 motor that I'd chosen to put in the locomotive, this one for instance, had a brass worm on it. And I thought, well, a brass worm and a nylon cog, they're not going to mesh properly. So I needed a nylon worm on here. I had a spare one, which was all well and fine, but I had to get the old brass worm off the spindle. So I got, there's a demonstration motor, an old one out the box, and I got one of these. That's a worm extractor. And it's a little slot in the side there, and that slots in there, fits in there quite snug. And then with a little Allen key, goes in here. All right, if I can do it on camera, right. And then you just twist it around until this little bar there is resting on this spindle. And then you just turn it, keep turning it, and then gradually the worm will come off the spindle. Once I was able to do that, I'll put that to one side now. Once I was able to do that, I was able to knock the nylon worm on there quite easily. So I had a nylon worm and a nylon cog. Where I got them from, this is just for a demonstration to show you where it was. I had one of these jinties which had been broken, and it was in my spares box, and it had a nylon cog and a nylon worm. If I turn it onto one side, you can see it's got a nylon worm here. A nylon cog here. It's a very coarse thread. And if you look on this one, which I'm going to put on top of it, you can see it's exactly the same. So the one that I got off the 1978 Jinty that was broken in my spares box, I was able to use the cog and the worm from that. And then all I had to do was then just put it together. So I'll just put this back on there because that tender has no motive function anymore because the Ringfield motor's been taken out. I've got to try and put this on. Of course, I could then remove the cables that go from the tender to the locomotive, and the cables were long enough that I could quite easily fix them onto the motor. I'm trying to put this into place a moment without even being able to see what I'm doing right. And there's a screw at the front, and I'll see if I can push it forward a bit, right, so you can see what I'm doing. All I'm doing is just tightening up a screw so that the body doesn't come off, right. And I'm going to move the camera back a bit. Oh, sorry about the movement. Right, camera's coming back so we can see the track. Right, and this is the Oliver Cromwell from 1973, and it's probably the only locomotive drive version of this, because it was released in 1973 with tender drive. Right, so let's give it a test. I'm going to hold the tender steady so you can see the motion turning. Look at that. That's full power now. And then the other direction. The problem is, because the cog and the worm are so coarse, designed for a little shunter locomotive, it's not really designed for an express locomotive. So it'll tend to go a lot faster than intended. But it meant that I've got a new locomotive now, which otherwise would have been just stood behind glass and just put on presentation. Okay, thank you for watching that, and I'll try to have something new in a few days' time. Bye bye then.